So you're in a rut, your lazy girl era, your aesthetic is rotting away in bedcore. And the most frustrating thing is you know you want more, you know you want to change, you even know which habits you want to have in your life, you know which direction you want to go in, but you just keep falling back into the same old you. And it just feels like there's like this concrete wall, like there's a block between you and the version of you that you're trying to work towards. And just like you can't break through it for some reason. Or like, I think a better analogy would be actually like a rubber band. It's like here you are at the starting point when the rubber band is small, and then the further you try to get away from your starting point, like you try to change, you try to get new habits, all that kind of stuff, then you just keep getting pulled back, like by some invisible string, Taylor Swift reference, but an invisible force just keeps pulling you back like a rubber band to where you started. And unfortunately, I went through this for years, so many times. I can't even imagine, like I'd be a millionaire if I got $1 for the amount of times that I've started something and I've then failed after like a few attempts or a week or so. And I just personally know how frustrating it gets when you just keep failing over and over and over again. And you know, by the 500th failure, you start feeling desperate, right? You're just like, what is wrong with me? You start trying to motivate yourself by talking down to yourself. You're like, why are you so lazy? Like, why can't you change? You know, it's like no matter what I do, I can't just fix myself. And now I want to pause here for a second and just ponder something. Who is you in this sentence? Who is the I in this situation and who is the myself? Because this kind of implies that there's two of me, if that makes any sense. But if you think about it, right, it's like when I say, why are you so lazy? It's as if there's a me who's talking down on myself, right? Like I can't talk down on myself if there's no one to talk down to. So then, are there two me's? Yeah, this is empty, by the way, it's just a prop. Okay, so you probably have noticed though that you have like this internal dialogue with yourself, like almost there's two voices or two versions of yourself battling inside of you. And so that's what I want to discuss today, because this might seem irrelevant, but it actually is the key to figuring out, what was that? The key to figuring out how to finally change. What is that invisible rubber band or that block that's preventing you from changing, right? And I just wish that I had understood this when I was younger, because it just felt so frustrating for so many years. And if someone had just explained this to me, I feel like my whole life would have been completely different, honestly. So I really hope that this video will help you guys understand yourself a little bit more and why you're struggling to change. Before we continue, I want to quickly talk about today's sponsor, which is one of my favorite tools of all time and I've been using for over 5 years, and also helped me write this giant script for this video. When it comes to writing, my biggest issue is always just getting started, as I can spend hours and hours trying to decide how to write an email to my professor or getting stuck brainstorming ideas. I also struggle with finding a balance between sounding formal but also nice and friendly, and with being too verbose and writing too much. That's where Grammarly comes in, as with its free AI features, Grammarly can be a real-time thought partner and help you brainstorm topics. Grammarly also can generate free auto citations instantly, so there's no need to leave your webpage or type your essay citations manually. And Grammarly's premium features take your schoolwork and emails to the next level, as with Clarity full sentence rewrites, Grammarly will rewrite run-on sentences to make them more clear and effective. And with setting goals, you can set your goals to ensure your writing actually matches the tone that you want. So yeah, Grammarly is a must-have for all students. Sign up and upgrade to Grammarly Pro for 20% off with my link. Okay, so drumroll please. We are introducing the conscious and the subconscious. Okay, so our conscious is the rational, logical part of our brain, right? It's the one that, it's us, essentially. You know, the one that makes plans, the one that understands that studying right now will lead to good grades in the long run, even if it's boring in the moment, right? It's the one that knows that eating healthy is important, that getting sleep is important. You know, it rationally understands things and knows what's good for us and what's not based on research, you know, reading just what we've been told. Unfortunately, see picture here, the conscious is teeny tiny, it's like the tip of the iceberg of our brain, right? Because then there's the huge subconscious underneath that is controlling everything else, right? It's been evolving for millions of years of evolution. It controls our personality, all of the skills, natural abilities and talents that have been passed down from our ancestors, in a sense. It's also who we are attracted to largely is impacted by that. Our body regulation, our systems, our hormones, lymphatic system, nervous system, heartbeat, breathing, sleep. All of it's not controlled by us, right? It's all controlled by the subconscious, and it's an incredibly powerful machine. It's like a computer in a sense that's just running everything in the background while our tiny little voice up there is trying to control it and kind of miserably failing, right? And so it's so important to understand that the subconscious controls also our mental health, right? Like our mood. So like sometimes we wake up and we're just in an amazing mood. It happens more rarely though, I would say. But we wake up and we're like, hey, like I'm energetic and I feel great today. And then there's some days, which usually is more often the more common thing, and we wake up and we're like, I don't want to do anything. I feel like a 90-year-old grandma. I could not care less about anything. And you're like completely apathetic and you don't want to do anything, right? So it's also controlling our moods, our energy levels. Just so many things are controlled by our subconscious. Now that explains the rubber band. That explains the block that is preventing us from changing, right? Because in a sense, addictions or bad habits, like we feel almost compelled to do something, right? Like when we're really used to eating junk food, right? Like you have cravings for like sugar. Like I've had that when I would be trying to quit sugar, and I'd literally be having dreams about like ice cream or something, right? Which is not helpful when you wake up in the middle of the night and you're dreaming about ice cream and you're like, oh my God, I want ice cream so bad, right? Like those cravings are not our conscious. Like we wouldn't want to pick to have cravings for sugar, right? Like we know it's maybe not good for us, right? And so that is part of the subconscious part of our brain that's just pulling us towards sometimes those bad habits that we know are not good, but that we want to do anyways. And again, if our conscious hypothetically was in full control of the whole situation, right? Then why wouldn't we just wake up one morning and be like, hey, I want to be in a great mood today. Plus, I also want to not crave any bad foods and not feel lazy and scroll on TikTok all day. If our conscious, knowing what's good for us, was in full control of the situation, our life would be amazing. I just imagine how easy that would be, right? And that's kind of how we approach then plans, right? Like the idealistic plans. We just go off of the perfect scenario where you can just control everything and yourself. Like that's how I would be writing my plans in the past. Like from this perfect standpoint with no exceptions for bad days. We make our plans a lot of the time not taking into account sick days or bad moods or, things not going our way. So now you probably understand why it feels like a battle, like a civil war going on inside of us, right? It's our conscious, which knows what's good for us, battling our subconscious, which is kind of just doing its own thing, living its best life. But you see, the thing is, life doesn't have to be a battle. Like, wouldn't it be awesome if we could hack our brain and actually make our subconscious understand why we're doing things and then help us instead of getting in the way, right? Because we know it can help. You've probably been through that situation where it's a deadline, you have an exam coming up, and suddenly you have that adrenaline rush. It's like a different version of you almost, like you're a superhuman. You just memorize things like way faster. You're working super productively, like everything's on fire, and you're just like, why can't I be like this all the time? And why am I only like this 3 days before my exam where I cram all the knowledge into my brain? And yeah, the subconscious understands that we're in danger of getting an F, parents yelling at us, whatever the situation is, and it freaks out. And it helps us. It helps give that energy and that adrenaline and push through and get that grade, decent grade on the final or the exam or anything. But you see, the thing here is the subconscious is not actually our enemy. Its main goal is for us to be happy, safe, comfortable, and basically it's the gatekeeper or the guard that's sort of keeping us in our comfort zone where we feel fine and good, okay? So for example, maybe you've heard of dopamine, right? Which I'm gonna break it down super simply. It's like the neurotransmitter molecule thing that makes us feel pleasure, happiness. We get it after we eat chocolate. We get it after we hang out with good friends. We get it after scrolling through TikTok, or just things that make us feel good, right? And so for example, on a typical day when you're not freaking out about a deadline, the thing that would make you, the lifestyle, the day, that would make you feel most comfortable and, just peace, chill, right? Would be pretty much you wake up, you eat some chocolate, you eat some sugary stuff that spikes your dopamine, and then you go scroll for 6 hours on TikTok, which also is constantly spiking your dopamine. Maybe, like I said, hang out with some friends, and then you go to sleep. And honestly, according to your brain, that was a pretty great day, right? Nothing bad happened. You just chilled out. It was great. Why not, And can you really fault the brain? If you have a roof over your head, if you have enough, money to have food, maybe your parents are providing it or you just have a stable job, right? What more do you need in this life? We are surrounded by things that are constantly making us feel good in the moment. And that's tricking our subconscious. That's making our subconscious to be fine with everything being the same and not leaving that comfort zone, right? When we're trying to do something uncomfortable, because we're not trying to make goals here. They're like, oh, I want to just chill and scroll Netflix or scroll on YouTube all day, right? We're making goals that are hard, like studying a lot, exercising, eating less to lose weight, for example, right? Or eating healthier at least. None of that's enjoyable in the moment. It's kind of feels like suffering in the moment. So why would our subconscious be on board with that when we can just chill? We can just do nothing, right? So it's that's where that clash is happening. And so this is why whenever we try to rapidly change our life, right? We're that's it, starting tomorrow, I'm eating healthy and I'm exercising 3 hours a day and blah, blah, blah. That's why we crash and burn so fast. We're trying to run and we're trying to eat less, right? And we're hungry. We're tired after running. We're sore. Subconscious bro, why are we doing this? Why do you want to keep doing this? This sucks. Cancel the program, right? It's like a computer. In a sense, it's oh, I detected a virus. You're trying to become an athlete. And being an athlete is hard and it's uncomfortable, especially in the beginning. For instance, when you're embarrassed, right? When you're running or you go to a gym and you're uncomfortable and you feel those really strong feelings of discomfort, embarrassment, you're shy, you don't know what to use in the gym, right? What does the subconscious think? It's we don't need this in our life. This sucks. You feel awkward. You feel uncomfortable. It's painful to start lifting weights. It's embarrassing. Why are we trying to do this? Cancel the program. Go back to watching Netflix. Go back to sitting in your bed all day. You like that. That's what's comfortable for you. That's what we should keep doing. Get with the program, chick. The whole exercising and athlete thing, no, not for you. Okay, and you're probably okay, well, why are you saying all this this is so long? 50% of the solution is always understanding the problem. You really, truly need to understand how this all works. I didn't understand for years, and I would just feel so frustrated trying to change, trying to do different things, feeling like there was a brick wall in my face. And so now, hopefully that you understand how this all works, why there is that wall, we can actually work towards changing and kind of hacking the brain and getting the subconscious on board and understanding, hey, change is good. I don't want to be in this comfort zone anymore. And sure, maybe it's uncomfortable in the beginning, but things will get better. But you gotta be able to communicate that to the subconscious so that it doesn't keep sabotaging all of your attempts at changing. So the way to get it on board is for it to realize that you genuinely do not feel comfortable and happy anymore being in this rut, being in this lazy girl area, or being the current version of you, and convincing it that the habits that you want or the new lifestyle will make you happy. So the first step is to make sure that the first goal, habit, whatever it is not too far out of your comfort zone. So a huge mistake I used to make was exactly like I said, the extreme planning, where I'd be from 0 to 100. I would go from being a person who doesn't exercise or eat healthy at all to the next day I would be planning to just eat perfectly. I'd have a perfect meal plan with 0 junk food, meal plan everything and eat leaves of grass. And same thing with studying. I'd be okay, I haven't worked or studied. I average 2 hours a day, and I'd go to 10 hours a day. Bad idea, because that freaks the subconscious out, especially if the beginning is super uncomfortable, you're suffering genuinely, right? You go from not running to running 30 minutes and you're just like, your feet hurt, you're sore, you know, just you're suffering, like genuinely, like it's too hard. What is that telling the subconscious? It's like, oh my God, virus, terrible, terrible activity. All you're feeling is bad feelings. Don't like it. It's boring, it's terrible, you know, cancel, right? And so again, the baby steps, that's why the baby steps are so important, because it has to be so tiny in the beginning. And it's gonna get better exponentially, you'll see that. But in the beginning, it has to be so tiny out of your comfort zone that it doesn't trigger the alarm system of the subconscious. It's kind of like you're trying to sneak past it, like, oh, I'm trying to change, but like you're not gonna notice. And again, that's just something, I was so impatient when I was younger. I just wanted everything like this, right? So those baby steps for months, it would be too slow for me. So I wouldn't want to be, you know, doing like running 1 minute a day for like a month or something. I mean, it doesn't have to be that basic, for example, but something like that. It'd just be too slow. I'd be like, no, I want to be running like a 5K in a week, you know, or something. And that's why I kept triggering that freak out mode, cancel virus system in my subconscious accidentally over and over and over again. The next part of this program is you basically want to get yourself addicted to the new habit or activity that you're doing, right? So the way that you do that, and a lot of people might say like, oh, you know, listen to music, or, you know, add on like eat a chocolate after you study for a bit. The problem is the music is what's making you feel good and the chocolate is what's making you feel good in that case. And you're just gonna want more chocolate, right? You're just gonna wanna watch more Netflix instead of the actual activity. The key here is to try to make your brain like the activity itself, so that you actually start wanting to study, that you start wanting to do running, for example. And it is possible to do it. And I'm not saying you can't run with music, for example. But this is something that I learned from Andrew Huberman, is that stacking too many pleasurable things that spike your dopamine to an activity can actually reduce your pleasure associations with said activity. You wanna occasionally maybe even run or just study without any of the extra dopamine adding things, to really get your brain used to doing it and liking the activity. So now you're probably like, okay, how on earth do I get myself to like studying, to like running, like if I hate it, right? So the thing is though, that if you praise yourself enough, if you obsessively are like, every single time you run, like 2 minutes after, you like only see the positive. You're like, I feel so good that I ran today. Like I could just feel how my lungs are getting stronger and healthier, and my heart rate is, you know, like my heart is getting stronger and healthier. And, you know, the weather is so nice outside today, and I'm such a bad butt, I don't want to say the bad word, for doing this, you know, and all that kind of stuff. Like if you're insane, I'm talking about like insanely cheerleading yourself, you will start liking that activity eventually. Not on day one. It might take like a week or 2 weeks and stuff, but you will start, like if you're really hyping it up, like overboard. For someone like me who naturally, when I was younger, got used to talking down to myself, it was weird in the beginning to be a cheerleader for myself. Like I had to reteach myself to cheerlead and be nice to myself because of those years of failures. But boy, does it help change things. It's like the ultimate hack is just being your own cheerleader for any activity you want. It literally just changes everything. The whole game changes. Yeah, when you're just like, you're awesome today. Like you did that. You're so cool. Like good for you. Like it might sound fake in the beginning, but after a long time, like you get used to it. You get used to praising yourself, and then you get associations of positivity with the activity. Your subconscious starts being like, oh dang, like this is kind of cool actually. Like every single time she goes for a run, she feels great after. And then you know what started happening? I started wanting to run. I'd literally look forward to the time where I could run in a day. This being the girl who hated running when she was younger, despised it, thought it was a torture activity the PE teachers would use, and it was cruel and unusual punishment for students, okay? That's how strong just being nice to yourself and praising yourself for doing an activity, and how powerful that is, and how that teaches the subconscious, oh, I actually like this activity, I want to start doing it more. So the main thing here is you want to rewire where you're getting that dopamine, those pleasurable feelings from, to eating healthier, being productive, or exercising, or just doing the good things. And put all of your energy and emotions and the positivity towards that. And every time you're doing the bad things, you highlight how they don't make you feel good. Like, oh, I ate all this junk food, but like I feel like kind of sick now. Like it just like doesn't make me feel good. Or like I just spent the whole day scrolling TikTok and like, you know what? I feel guilty. And you start emphasizing those feelings of negativity. You start being like, I don't like those feelings of guilt. I don't like those feelings of being sluggish and, gross after eating all those junk food. And you start emphasizing to your subconscious emotionally, because it understands emotions, I don't like these bad habits. They don't make me feel good anymore. Maybe they did in the past because they would spike my dopamine, but right now, starting from today, going forward, I don't like them anymore. I don't want them in my life anymore. They are making me feel guilty, they're making me feel bad, and they're not something I want in my life. Okay, so now again, let's talk about, speaking of negative emotions, let's talk about negative emotions, right? Again, a huge mistake I used to make when I was younger was I would overthink things. I would overplan things, over-research a certain goal. I always like joke to people, I had a talent for making anything I was passionate about into the most dreaded, like stressful activity possible. Simply by overthinking things, overplanning, over-researching, overwhelming myself with like all the stuff that I had to do, right? I would then have all this anxiety and these like negative emotions around my dream or like a new goal that I had. And so again, what is that telling our subconscious? Well, then just don't do it. It's like the opposite of Nike, right? Like just don't do it. It's making you feel overwhelmed. It's not something that you're excited about anymore, right? Like, and it's just crazy to me because I used to be like, when I was younger, I would be passionate about so many things like tennis, writing, getting into a top university, all that kind of stuff. And every single time, like I said, I'd start researching other people, their paths, trying to figure out the hack of like how to get there and all that kind of stuff. And I'd make a list of the 3,000 steps that I'd have to do, and I would freak myself out. I would feel so overwhelmed, and every time I would be failing towards taking the steps over there, I'd get down on myself, and just so many negative emotions were wrapped around that dream or goal. And the funniest thing is when I would quit them, I would feel relieved that I no longer had to worry about that goal, that I didn't have to, keep researching. You're telling the subconscious emotionally around a dream or goal, you're only emitting negative emotions of like anxiety, paralysis, overwhelm and stuff. Why would your subconscious be on board with you going after a dream that's just stressing you out and makes you feel completely freaked out, right? Just logical. Again, it's so important to treat, your dreams like a little plant that you're just carefully trying to make grow with sunshine only, right? Like you're not gonna lock it up in a dark closet. You're gonna want it to have sunshine and water and take care of it. And it's like your dreams are like a little plant that you need to take care of. You need to nurture it and give it only positive emotions. And if you feel like you're starting to stress yourself out and overwhelm yourself with research stuff, back off. Just chill out a little. Don't worry about, 30 years from now, right? And just start from what made you even want to pick that dream in the first place. Like what makes you excited about that dream? Like if it's writing or if it's exercising and being an athlete, what is it about it that makes you excited? And focus on that. Focus on what makes you passionate and gives you the positive emotions. So again, the subconscious understands, oh wait, this dream actually gives her positive feelings. This dream is actually something she wants, not something that's bringing negative emotions suddenly and stress and anxiety, because we don't want stress and anxiety. The subconscious doesn't want us to be constantly stressed and negative and anxious and freaking out and overwhelmed, right? So it's so important to nurture that dream, treat it like a little plant, and only give it sunshine and positive emotions and water so that it grows. And so you're not stifling your dream and wringing your hands around it with pressure and tension and stress and overwhelm, if that makes sense. Also, another thing is just be careful every time you start thinking, oh my gosh, this is so hard. This is gonna take so long. Oh my God, I hate this. Like all those negative thoughts, again, are just gonna get in the way and add negative emotions to the process of the journey. And you don't want that. You want the subconscious to think, oh wow, this is an awesome journey. We love doing this thing, right? So every time you're like, oh, this is so hard, this is so boring, I hate this, just every single time you say that, it's a little drop that goes a little program, like a little line of code that gets sent to the subconscious, and it tells it, you don't like this activity, let's cancel it then. You don't like it, it makes you feel bad, let's get rid of it, right? Who needs it? And so again, it's just so important to try to be as positive as possible. I'm not saying you're gonna be perfect. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like, oh, I'm so tired of editing, you know, whatever, for YouTube, right? But to try to be as positive as possible is the main key here. So please just understand, you do not need to be intense and toxic and negative and like attack yourself constantly to be productive. Like, you can be a genuinely like super positive person who loves what you do and achieve way more than when you're constantly talking down to yourself and you're like all intense about stuff and you have to succeed and compare yourself to others and all that kind of stuff. It actually stops your passion. It stops you from going forward, and it'll make you quit eventually, because again, like, why would we keep something in our life that makes us feel miserable and stressed and hate everything? And last but not least, it is really helpful to try to find people within whatever the realm of what you're trying to learn, right? So for example, if it's running, eating healthy, if it's studying more, if it's working more, trying to find people that radiate like positivity or at least passion about what they do, because it rubs off on you. That positivity from other people, it's like a disease in a good way though. It genuinely, like, you get that energy from that person. And so it's just super helpful to find examples on social media, or maybe even if it's a fictional character, right? Like Hermione Granger, for example. But somebody who's really passionate about what they do, about that particular activity that you want to also become passionate about. It's kind of like that monkey see, monkey do thing, because again, we are social creatures evolutionarily. You know, we copy what we see in other people. And so if you want to learn how to be a cheerleader, if that's something that you struggle with, finding other people who are really positive in that realm of the goals that you want to achieve is super helpful. Okay, so that's all I have to say for this video. I hope it gave you guys some clarity, maybe if you've been struggling with changing and you again feel like there's a rubber band pulling you back to square one every single time. Thank you if you did make it this far. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. It gave you some insight, and maybe you understand you're not alone. I've been through this, tons of people have been through this, and you know, we really are working with a supercomputer, and it really is so important to learn how to make our conscious and subconscious kind of work together and help us achieve our goals and our dreams and just be happy people, right? And so, you know, in the game of life, okay, why did I put it, cheese? Okay, in the game of life of my empty mug that I just brought for a prop. But yeah, so I hope you guys, and I don't know why I'm doing this, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time. And yeah, thank you again for all your support on the previous video, and I will hopefully continue making more videos like this. Bye guys! Okay, so sorry for the interruption, but my cat just wanted to say hi. Yes. She loves being the center of attention. So I know some of you guys have wanted to see her for a while, so here she is in all her glory. Okay, bye.